Guys, I'm back for another video. I'm sorry that I didn't do my Money in the Bank review yesterday, but I only found out in like the last hour or so of my shift that I had to stay on and do overtime. So by the time I got home, I thought, oh, I might as well just watch Raw, and then I'll do like a whole combined review today where I talk about Raw and Money in the Bank. So that is the plan, what I'm going to do. Obviously, there's a lot of ground to cover because so much stuff kind of happened on like the pay-per-view and on Raw. So you have to bear with me because I'm probably going to be talking for quite a while about this. So obviously, yeah, Money in the Bank pay-per-view was really good. I really enjoyed it. Lots of good matches, obviously, like surprising results, and obviously just, you know, general, obviously the whole CM Punk actually winning, you know, everyone was just amazed because, you know, there've been so many theories of how he could win but then not leave with the title, but the fact that he actually did, like, leave with the title, obviously everyone's kind of been like, whoa, you know, wasn't like expecting really that to happen. Not many people actually honestly thought that he was going to leave with the title. So, anyway, I'll get on to, like, the main event in a bit, so obviously we'll go through the Money in the Bank pay-per-view first, with all my thoughts and stuff. The SmackDown Money in the Bank match was on first, obviously. We had Sin Cara, Wade Barrett, Justin Gabriel, Sheamus, Cody Rhodes, Heath Slater, Daniel Bryan, and Kane. So, obviously, I predicted Sheamus to win this one, even though I thought that was kind of the obvious kind of thing, but I don't think anyone really expected Daniel Bryan to win this. Obviously, yeah, because when he actually won, I was kind of shocked. My dad was like over the moon. Me and my dad watched it together, and he likes Daniel Bryan. So he was like cheering around the living room, and I was like, "What are you doing?" But I guess it's good to have like a kind of shock, kind of, or not shock winner, a surprise winner, because you know normally there's one guy who you kind of think is always going to win, or a couple who could, but then when like a complete like underdog comes in and wins it, and you're like, what? How did that happen? But no, I did enjoy this match. Obviously, I still think having 8 people in Money in the Bank is a bit cluttered. I wish that they'd kept it at 6, but it doesn't really, you know, we've kind of got like accustomed to having 8 people in it now. Sheamus did a like powerbomb like from the, I think it was from either from the turnbuckle or the ring apron on Sin Cara, who went through a ladder that was on the outside, and that kind of took Sin Cara out of the match. Obviously, at the time I was thinking, I was quite surprised, you know, that they would kind of eliminate him so kind of early from the match, but obviously found out on, you know, the internet he's been like, obviously like suspended due to violating the wellness policy, so that was probably, they couldn't exactly pull him from the match before, you know, it kind of started, but obviously that kind of got him out of the match quickly. So obviously he's been suspended for like 30 days, what for. Even though the core obviously split up, they all kind of do team up together and kind of take out everybody. Heath Slater does a nice neck breaker off the ladder on Daniel Bryan. Kane chokeslams Sheamus onto a ladder, which is painful, and then Justin Gabriel hit the 450 splash, like I think it was off a like vertical ladder on Kane, which is nice. But then, like I said, Daniel Bryan obviously climbed up the ladder and actually won, and it was just, yeah, kind of shock. Everyone was actually really surprised, like I said, because he was kind of the underdog, kind of going into the match. But I guess, you know, we'll see what happens. Obviously, I don't know when exactly he's going to kind of cash in. My dad was like, oh, I bet he'll be like the first person to like cash in and not actually win it. But you know, we'll see what happens with that anyway. Divas match was just appalling, honestly. Brie Bella against Kelly, like it was bad. They actually gave them, you know, I know most people say, oh, it's good that the women's matches are short, but sometimes I think, well, if they just give them a little bit more time. But they gave this match more time than they normally would, and it was absolutely horrendous. So avoid this match at all costs. It was bad. Kelly won. That's all you need to know. Move on to the next match now, which unfortunately was Mark Henry versus The Big Show, which was pretty like slow going. Yeah, I've actually written yawn on my notes because it was quite boring. Mark Henry wins, like he does like the world's strongest slam twice, and then does like 2 times, or like splash. I just call it a splash. I don't really know what technical term for it is on him to get the win. But then after the match, he like puts Big Show's like leg in between like a steel chair, and then either does he do like yeah, he does like the splash off like the top row or turnbuckle on it, but I think it must have actually really hurt Big Show because he kind of swore quite loudly, which isn't good when you've got, you know, like really good microphones that pick up like all the sound and stuff. So yeah, I think that actually might have really kind of hurt him. But you know, so obviously I think and then they said on Raw that he could be out for up to like 2 months, so whether that's legit I don't actually know, but we'll see anyway. So yeah, like the Money in the Bank match to start with was good. Then you have like the 2 bad matches, but then like it gets better from here. Like the second, or like the rest of like the show is like really good. The Raw Money in the Bank ladder match was next, and obviously I predicted Alberto Del Rio. Oh yeah, so by the way, so far out of, you know, 2 out of 3 matches I'd actually got right, because obviously I'm sure I predicted Kelly, and I also predicted Mark Henry. Raw Money in the Bank I predicted Alberto Del Rio, so obviously in this match there's Alberto, Kofi, Jack Swagger, Evan Bourne, R-Truth, Alex Riley, Miz, and Rey Mysterio. This also, yeah, was like another good match. I don't think there was so many kind of crazy high spots like in this match, except for obviously Evan Bourne did like an airborne off the ladder on the outside onto like everyone, which looked really nice. You know, sometimes when they like, it kind of reminded me of like when Jeff Hardy did like that first kind of big swanton bomb at WrestleMania 2000. Like sometimes people do like big moves like that, but it either kind of botches, they don't actually really hit or whatever. But this one looked really good. He actually like hit it kind of like perfectly, so that was a really nice spot. Kofi hits the boom drop off the ladder on R-Truth, which is nice. Miz, like there's a spot, I can't remember exactly what happened, but I'm sure Miz and somebody else were kind of hanging off the belt, but he kind of fell down and landed like, you know, they said he kind of like hyperextended his knee because he landed really badly, so Miz got like taken out of the match, but then like later on he came like, you know, running back in, and he got like a really like massive kind of cheer, and obviously when he was climbing up the ladder, but Ray powerbombed him off the ladder and got booed so badly. Like, I mean, I can't remember a time when I've actually heard Ray get such a negative reaction from the crowd. It's so weird, because normally everybody hates the Miz, they boo him so much, but when he came back in and climbed the ladder, when it almost looked like he was going to win, they were cheering him. I don't understand the WWE crowd sometimes, it's just really kind of weird. But yes, yeah, so obviously Ray's on top of the ladder, but then Del Rio climbs up and they're kind of fighting each other, but then Del Rio like pulls off like Rey Mysterio's mask, so obviously Ray's like, you know, covering his face, so he kind of, you know, falls like off the ladder, but I don't think Del Rio's ladder was meant to like tip over, like, you know, because he was supposed to obviously rip it off, Ray fell down and then he should have won, but his ladder was like going like really slowly, which was quite funny, but you know, he obviously got back up and he actually won the match, which I predicted, so I was 3 out of 4 at that point, which was good. Yeah. So yeah, that was a good match as well. I liked it. I think I think whether it's having 8 people and whether, I guess, not because of the PG, but I think they've kind of like seem to have not toned down the Money in the Bank, but they're definitely not like as crazy as they used to be. Like at previous ones, like at WrestleMania, when you have people like Shelton and Edge and that in it, and they were just like really crazy, like really high spots, like all the time. They obviously don't do quite so many crazy things anymore, but I guess they kind of, now that obviously Edge, because obviously he had to retire due to like injuries and stuff and those kind of matches, they kind of toned it down a bit. The semi-main event was Christian versus Randy Orton for the World Heavyweight Championship. Obviously, going into the match, we knew that if Orton got disqualified, then Christian would automatically become the champion. So Christian was obviously kind of playing, like, you know, up to like Randy Orton, trying to like kind of make him like get disqualified, basically. So obviously there was good story kind of telling in this match. There wasn't the actual wrestling. It was a good match, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't so much about the actual wrestling. It was about like the back kind of story going into it. Orton goes to the RKO, but it gets counted into the kill switch. That only gets 2. The spear gets counted. Randy Orton hits like it's kind of like it was kind of looked like he was going for a gut wrench powerbomb, but then he kind of turned it into a neck breaker, which kind of looked like a reversey RKO. So I just called it gut wrench neck breaker RKO because I didn't know what else to call it. That only got a 2 count, but then Christian like spit at Randy Orton, which, you know, they showed on replay like 100 times. My dad doesn't like watching things like that, and he was like, oh, get it off the screen, and I'm like, no, you can't fast forward like anything, just leave it going. Obviously, yeah, they just decided to like, you know, replay that, and in slow motion and close up as well, so you just see this like wad of like spit flying at Orton's face. Not very pleasant, but you know, whatever, obviously. So that obviously made Orton, you know, really angry. So then obviously he kind of went a bit crazy and like obviously kicked, or like did like a low blow kick on Christian, which got him disqualified. So obviously everyone was kind of like shocked, you know, that he'd actually done it. So that kind of like turned Orton back into his kind of like psycho character. So before Christian really had like kind of a chance to celebrate that he'd actually won, obviously Orton kind of threw him over like the announce table, and it hits Christian with like the monitor, and then hits like the there's like an RKO on the announce table, and he's like walking away like for like up the ramp, but then he's like no, and goes back again, and he just looks, he's got this completely psychotic grin on his face, like he's gone back into like the psycho character that he kind of was like at the start of like 2009, and he hits like a second RKO on the table, but the table just doesn't break. I don't know if it was supposed to, but I suppose a move like that, it's not really like got enough power to actually make it break. But you know, it was really good, and he almost was going to go back a 3rd time, but he didn't, and you know, it was just crazy, like how psycho he was. So obviously, I predicted that whoever won the SmackDown Money in the Bank was going to come out and cash in on Christian, but obviously they didn't. So I got it right that Christian won though, but just not the bit like afterwards. So yeah, because I was thinking Daniel Bryan's not going to come out now. That wouldn't really kind of make sense for him to come out. He's not really. I don't know. You don't really see Daniel Bryan as the guy that would kind of do the cheap like cash in. He might actually do it like as a proper kind of match, but who knows what will happen anyway. So main event. CM Punk versus John Cena. Obviously, match everyone, you know, kind of been like waiting for. Like the crowd were just like literally before, like obviously he came out, they were like just chatting CM Punk going absolutely mad. And then obviously when CM Punk did come out, the crowd literally kind of erupted. It was so loud, the reaction. I can't remember the last time I heard like someone get cheered so much. That was like obviously kind of crazy. And like, but when John Cena came out, I think the boos that John Cena got were louder than like the cheers for CM Punk. That's how much hate there was for Cena kind of in this match. But obviously I like the fact that Cena kind of, you know, didn't do his normal over the top kind of antics. He was just very kind of took, you know, like all the negative kind of reaction from the crowd and stuff. And like, it was funny, like at the start of the match they were chanting like "you can't wrestle," and obviously CM Punk kind of pointed to himself and was like me, and then like pointed at Cena like instead, and it was quite funny. So obviously, yeah, if you haven't seen this match, you should watch it. But before I talk about obviously like the rest of the match, hopefully this won't get me like a lot of hate from people. I've obviously watched a lot of reviews of people on the show, read what people were saying, and everyone's saying, you know, that this match was like a 5-star classic. I disagree with that. I'm not like saying that, because like the whole storyline, like obviously the reaction, the result, all of that, yes, but the actual wrestling itself, if you really are just paying attention to like the actual wrestling, it wasn't that great. There was a lot of kind of botched moves. They were calling the moves to each other so loud you could like actually lip read what they were saying, and that to me is really off-putting. If I can see like the wrestlers really loudly talking to themselves, sorry, I don't know what I'm talking. If I can hear the wrestlers really loudly talking like to each other, it kind of puts me off, and I just didn't think, you know, that this match, like obviously, yeah, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, that match, the wrestling was great, you know, awesome in that match, but this one it wasn't. So I disagree when people are saying that it was a 5-star classic match, but yeah, please don't hate me, that's just my honest opinion. I was like, well, I'm going to say like, you know, what I actually thought about it. Don't get me wrong, like I said, the build up to it, you know, the reactions, the way that, you know, CM Punk and Cena's like acted in this match, and like, you know, like the aftermath and everything, that was great. But the actual wrestling itself wasn't that good, so I can't say that I thought this was a 5-star classic match. So now that that's out of the way, so obviously it was a pretty even fight really, like throughout like the whole kind of match. Cena had the advantage, he like had like, you know, the STF on a couple of times, but CM Punk like managed to get to the rope. They both go to attitude adjustment and GTSs, but they keep getting kind of countered. Cena goes for his diving leg drop, but it gets countered into a powerbomb by Punk. He actually does then hit the diving leg drop, and he gets a 2 count. Punk hits a top rope Hurricane Rana. I can't say that I've ever seen Punk do a top rope Hurricane Rana. I suppose he just doesn't really do a lot of top rope stuff. Kind of, yeah, Punk gets Cena up and does the GTS, but it kind of, I don't know whether it botched or whether it was, I think it might have been intentional, because obviously he only hits Cena in the ribs, and Cena like rolls out of the ring, and that allowed the time for Vince and John Laurinaitis to come out at the top of the ramp, so obviously everyone was like booing them because wondering what they were going to do. Then Cena locks on the STF, and Vince is obviously like, you know, telling like the ref to ring the bell, and he sends like John Laurinaitis down there to like obviously screw him like he did the whole Montreal screw job in '97. But Cena like rolls out of the ring and stops John, you know, that guy. I can't remember to keep saying his name, and says no, he wants to do this. If he wants to win fairly. So he gets back in the ring, and Punk hits the GTS and actually gets the win. And obviously, like literally, the arena just explodes. You know, every single person in the whole arena is like literally on their feet at this point. You know, like cheering and stuff. And obviously, Vince is so furious. He goes down and like commentary, puts the headset on and starts yelling, "Get Del Rio out, get Del Rio out." You guys already know this, but I'm just, you know, because I always talk about this in every video. And like obviously Del Rio like obviously runs out and says he's going to cash in, you know, the obviously Money in the Bank contract, but CM Punk just kicks him in the head and like leaves. So the bell hadn't actually rung, so it wasn't actually official. So he literally just jumped over the barricade and left through the crowd. So obviously, you know, Vince is actually furious, and yeah, CM Punk actually like left with the title. So, you know, overall, yeah, Money in the Bank was really good. Like just, you know, because of the ending. Someone at work, it's always really annoying because someone at work said to me, "Oh, it's really awesome, you have to see it." So that kind of implied to me that CM Punk had actually won. So even if I just don't like to know anything before matches, because I always, if he'd have just said nothing, then I might have thought, okay, I just don't even know what could have happened. But because he was like, "Oh, it's so awesome," that kind of indicated that Punk was going to win, which kind of made it slightly, you know, a bit like, oh, I already kind of know what's going to happen. But yeah, so overall, really, really enjoyed it. Probably, yeah, best pay-per-view, or yeah, best pay-per-view that they've had all year, really. But yeah, no, I just have to disagree with people when they're saying that that match was like a 5-star classic, because I think if you watched it again, you wouldn't, you know, think, oh, that's like amazing, like Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, when you've watched it, like, you know, even like the second, third time, I still thought, oh, this is like really, really good. But yeah, don't get me wrong, build up, fantastic. You know, the way that Punk and Cena were, and like Vince through like the whole storyline was great, and just the way that they've got everybody like so interested in what was happening, that's great, and obviously the result and everything. But now I just don't know what's going to happen with like CM Punk. Like, he probably will come back, But obviously now we have to talk about Raw because this is my giant combined review. But I just need to check how much time we've got left. Oh man, 5 minutes. I can't possibly talk about Raw in 5 minutes. I'm probably gonna have to like upload this video and then like delete it off my camera and start again and start talking about Raw. So Raw, basically Vince McMahon came out at the start and said that you know, they're going to crown a new WWE champion tonight, and he obviously wouldn't mention CM Punk's name, said he's going to try and like make the WWE universe forget about CM Punk, and he said it'll be a historic night and there will be severe consequences for John Cena. Vince's jacket is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. You should never ever ever wear a pink jacket, it just looks so horrendous. But you know, that's besides the point. So obviously they had like an 8-man tournament. It's weird, like when you saw all like those guys, you know, and some of them obviously fan favourites, Kofi Ray, and like Alex Riley and stuff, but none of them really strike you as someone who could really be, you know, the WWE champion. So obviously with like the, even though everybody complains about Cena, he's the guy that's more likely to be kind of, you know, champion than like any of those guys. So it was a bit kind of like, I didn't really know who I kind of like wanted to actually win the tournament, you know, when they first put like those kind of 8 guys up. So first round matches, we had Miz versus Alex Riley. I was thinking Miz, you know, there's no way Alex Riley is ready to be WWE champion, or at least even kind of contending for it, really. So Riley works on Miz's leg, obviously, you know, playing from like his injury from like the night before, so that's good, like, you know. Psychology, that's the one I was looking for. I couldn't think of what I was trying to say then. Riley hits like a nice neck breaker on the Miz. He hits a spine buster, but that only gets a 2 count, but then almost instantly after that, the Miz hits the skull crushing finale kind of out of nowhere and wins, so obviously Miz has advanced to the next round. Yeah, I'm going to have to like upload this now, so obviously I'll resume in a minute. Right, okay, let's start this again. This video is going to be so long, like seriously, because I have to combine like 2 videos together and I'm only just started talking about Raw. Anyway, so the second match was R-Truth versus Jack Swagger. I haven't written any notes for this because I don't think it was a very interesting match, so R-Truth won, so he advanced. That's the only thing, like, when they do these kind of tournaments, because it's literally the same wrestlers that are on, like, the whole show, sometimes it can be a bit like, if they'd have, like, I think if they'd have run the tournament over, like, 2 or 3 weeks, it would have made it a bit more interesting, but because they practically did the whole thing, like, in one night, you just got, like, a bit fed up of seeing the same kind of wrestlers, and, like, obviously the matches weren't very long, so you just think, oh, well, they're not really that important, but, you know, it wasn't too bad, like, some of them were good, so obviously I'll carry on now. Alberto Del Rio versus Kofi Kingston. Ricardo is back, you know, it's so weird, like, it's been so long, you've kind of forgotten about him, so when he kind of, Alberto, like, brought him out, I was like, oh wow, they actually, you know, got him, like, you know, back in again, like, or announcing him, but obviously then you hear his voice again, he goes on, and you think, okay, maybe it was, like, you know, nice, like, when he wasn't there, because he didn't keep going on and on, like, when he's, like, doing, like, Alberto's entrance. Kofi does a nice suicide dive on the outside, Del Rio hits a nice tilt-a-whirl backbreaker, and then, Kofi actually gets, like, the surprise win. He's, like, I think Del Rio was going for a pin, but, like, Kofi countered it into, like, you know, a quick pin and actually won, so that was quite surprising, because obviously a lot of people thought, because Del Rio's already got, like, the Money in the Bank, so he didn't really need to kind of be in it. And then the first round match was Rey Mysterio versus Dolph Ziggler. That was a good match. I liked this one. I haven't really got much notice except for Rey wins at the 619 and the Splash, but, you know, that one was slightly better. Obviously Rey tends to put on, like, good matches a lot. And then, you know, to break up the tournament, they thought they'd throw in, like, a women's match. So it was, like, a, like, 7, like, Diva tag match. So, yeah, 7 on each team. And I knew, I was like, right, one person's going to be in the ring, they're going to win, like, all the others are going to fight on the outside. What happened? Beth Phoenix and Rosa Mendez were in the ring fighting, all the others were fighting on the outside, and then, like, Beth won was, like, the glam slam after, like, 5 seconds, so it was just, like, a pointless match. But Beth was wearing so much lipstick. Honestly, it almost like she's like a vampire, you know. She's like, oh, I've just drank blood before this match and I forgot to wipe it off. Seriously, her lips were, like, bright red in this match. It was weird. So then we moved on to, like, the one thing that I noticed, right, that, like, in the match, or in the tournament, it's all the Money in the Bank competitors, with the exception of Evan Bourne. He must be well gutted that everybody else in, like, you know, the Money in the Bank match were in this tournament, except for him, who got replaced by Ziggler. That was just something that I noticed. I thought, where are all of these guys in Money in the Bank last night? That they were. So yeah, that was just a random thing that I observed. So the first semi-final match was Kofi Kingston versus The Miz. Like, Kofi Kingston goes for, like, he does, like, the crossbody off the top rope, but it gets, like, rolled over, so Miz goes for the pinfall, but only gets a 2 count, and then Miz hits the skull crushing finale. and actually wins, which I was quite surprised, because Kofi was kind of like, seemed like he was like on a roll, and then Miz actually won, and obviously the crowd were quite like cheering that, which is weird. Yeah, like I said, I don't understand how you get so much hate one week and then everybody loves him the next. It's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Obviously the second semi-final was Rey Mysterio versus R-Truth. Again, Rey wins with the 619. And the splash, obviously, Rey stayed in the ring, you know, waiting, because we thought it was going to be, like, the final. But even then thinking, oh, golly, Rey Mysterio versus Miz. But I don't think I'd even want, like, any of those two to actually be the champion. Don't get me wrong, I like Rey, and, like, Miz sometimes can be alright. But it's just a bit like, just don't quite have, you know, the star power, you know, to actually be, like, the champion. But, you know. But anyway, so obviously Rey was, like, waiting there, waiting for the Miz to come out. But then Vince came out and says that, you know, apologises, but it says that they haven't got, like, much time and he's got more important things to deal with. So tells Rey that they're going to have the match next week. So obviously, like, Rey's really annoyed and the crowd are kind of, like, booing that. But obviously then that leads on to the segment, which from Raw everybody is talking about. So Vince obviously says, he says from, like, he doesn't want to have to do this, like, from, like, a personal and professional level to Cena, and obviously he, like, thanks him for, like, the work and stuff. He says he knows how much he's actually done for the company. So Cena comes out and kind of doesn't really let Vince talk. He says that, you know, he's doing this, like, on his own terms and stuff, and he says that he's not going to kiss Vince's ass, and he says that if he's fired, then he will go to, like, TNA and carry on wrestling there. Obviously he doesn't actually say that, but he obviously implies it when he says, oh, he's going to go, you know, and carry on doing his work in another, like, organisation, rather. And obviously, like, you know, everyone knew that he was meaning, like, Hogan, obviously, going, like, to TNA. So yeah, that was actually quite funny, and obviously the crowd were kind of, you know, like, cheered at that. And then obviously Vince was like, oh, how dare you, you know, say that to me. He said, oh, you know, you listen to me carefully when I say this, John. And then he's, like, literally about to talk, and then Triple H comes out, and literally you watch it, because obviously this, again, was spoiled for me by someone on my Facebook. Oh, why do you people do this to me? Not, like, I'm not saying all of you, but obviously it's people that, who I know through, like, YouTube and stuff. Some people were really good. They said, oh, we won't tell you. Someone just said, just watch the end, and I thought, okay. But one of my friends who I've known for, like, ages, he just commented saying Triple H comes out at the end, it was awesome, and I was like, oh, why did you have to tell me that for? Because in my mind I'm already thinking what could possibly be, you know, the reason for him to come out, and I was like, oh, for goodness sake, why did you tell me that for? So yeah, so Triple H comes out, the crowd goes absolutely mental, and obviously Vince is kind of, you know, like, oh, look at here, it's my son-in-law and stuff. But does he ever actually, I don't know if he's really ever actually referred to him as that before. I mean, he probably has. I mean, obviously, I know a long time ago, but, like, especially, like, with the whole, like, DX kind of thing, obviously he would never actually say that Triple H was, like, his son-in-law, so I don't know if he actually has said that before. But yes, obviously, he comes out and he says that, they've had, like, a meeting, like, with the board of directors of the company, and, you know, he says that they're concerned about Vince, and, you know, all the decisions that he's kind of been making lately aren't good. But it's weird that they would have, like, I suppose, a lot of people I saw on YouTube, they're saying they have a board of directors meeting, but Vince isn't told about it. But I suppose, you know, whatever. I'm not even going to go into, like, that now. So basically, he says that they've passed a vote of no confidence, and he said, like, the family agree, so obviously Vince is, like, you know, like, really hurt by that. And then he basically says that they've got someone to replace him, and that person is him. So obviously now Triple H, whether it's in real life or, like, just in storyline, is actually the new, like, CEO or chairman of WWE, which obviously was kind of a bit of a shock, really. I was just like, whoa, I didn't really see that coming, but obviously it's quite cool. But obviously then Triple H and obviously Vince were, like, really upset. Like, Vince was actually crying. I don't know if I've actually seen Vince cry on, like, TV before, so it was a bit like, whoa, this is kind of powerful kind of stuff, really. You know, you just don't really see guys like that actually, like, crying. Obviously Shawn Michaels cried, like, during his, like, retirement thing and stuff, and, like, Edge when he retired, but to see Vince McMahon kind of actually crying, you know, was a bit like, well, and obviously Triple H said that he's not going to fire John Cena, so that's how Cena has, like, you know, got around being fired yet again, because he always does. But obviously then after that, so Triple H obviously left and said that, you know, that he was really sorry to Vince, and obviously Vince was just in the ring, and obviously there was, like, thank you Vince, like, chants going around, so it was a bit like, oh, you know, because obviously Vince McMahon's kind of always been there, so I guess now he might still be in it, but obviously the day-to-day kind of duties and stuff, Triple H has taken over, so Vince obviously won't be, like, the Mr. McMahon character that he's kind of always been anymore, seeing as he has, like, no power. So yeah, it was really kind of, whoa, so we had, like, a really obviously good, really good pay-per-view, and then, like, a good, like finish against Raw, so obviously it's good that WWE is kind of keeping up with this, like, not, you know, because like before Raw would kind of just be like an averagey kind of thing, no major things happen, but they're still kind of carrying on with this, and even though CM Punk wasn't actually on the show at all, it's still kind of going along with that thing, because now that Triple H has taken over, it might be a new way for CM Punk to come back into it, because he'll work, like, won't mind like working like for Triple H instead of like Vince or something. There's like so much stuff that could like happen now, so obviously at least they're still keeping this storyline interesting and not, you know, just Cena coming back and like ending it. It's like all different and new and stuff, and it's, you know, it's really good. I'm really pleased with how like WWE have kept this storyline kind of running, and I just hope that it doesn't kind of go back to the way it used to, like when this storyline does eventually finish, like however it will finish, I don't know. Also, did anyone notice, I'm sure it wasn't just my hearing, that Vince actually said WWF in this when he was talking to Cena. He said, I can't remember exactly what he said, but I'm sure that he said WWF instead of WWE. Don't know if anybody else like picked up on that, but I'm pretty sure he said it. So, whew, that was a lot of talking. But at least, you know, I've covered everything now. So that's Raw and Money in the Bank done. 2 very good shows. Obviously, yeah, CM Punk and John Cena was good. So, yeah, I can't believe that he actually did go with the title. That was really surprising. I honestly thought that someone was going to cash in. Like, obviously, when Terrio came out, I was like, oh, they're actually going to do that. But then he didn't, and, you know, just kind of surprised everybody, really. So, yeah. So please don't hate on me for saying that it wasn't a 5-star classic match. I'm sure if you do actually go back and watch the match, you realise it is quite sloppy in places, and it's hard to say it's a classic match when there was quite a few flaws with the actual wrestling. But I'm not taking away from the whole like match in, like, you know, like all the different aspects of it. So don't think that I'm saying it was bad, because it wasn't. Just the actual wrestling wasn't that great. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking now. I feel like really like, oh, from like talking for so long. I need to have like a massive drink now, because my throat's like gone really funny. Anyway, thank you for watching this. Please leave your thoughts and comments on Money in the Bank and Raw, and, you know, where you think what is going to happen now, like now that Triple H is taking over. Like, do you think there's going to be like any changes? A lot of people said, oh, maybe it means at the end of the PG era. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't really know if I can see them going back, you know, to what it used to be like. I guess, you know, they've changed, the company's completely changed. They're not exactly going to go right back to what they used to do with all blood and, like, you know, like swearing and like using the women as like sex symbols and stuff. I just, you know, they're not going to do that. The WWE has changed too much. They've got like all these other organisations that they're kind of involved with, and if they did go back to that, it would kind of change like the WWE's kind of image. So I can't see that happening, but I think it is changing in some ways. Obviously, you know, they're kind of more, it's becoming more like a thing for like all ages, not just for young like children. Now, obviously, a while back, obviously with the whole like Super Cena gimmick, like him just winning all the time, that obviously was just annoying all the adults. But now that CM Punk's done this storyline, it's like engaging like adults more, and like obviously like the internet kind of community as well. So yeah, but leave your thoughts anyway. That probably came out as a load of ramble, so I don't really know what I'm talking about. But anyway, thank you for watching this video, and I will see you guys at the weekend with my SmackDown review. Bye.